So you'll want to do some research in advance before taking your card apart. And if it's out there, try to find the thickness of the thermal pads so that you can buy some and have them on hand and ready to replace the ones that are already on the card. You need to get the exact same thickness, because if you buy a pad that's not thick enough, then it might not make contact with the heatsink, ergo does nothing. If you buy a pad that's too thick, then it can start bowing the PCB, which is also bad. So do a little bit of research, see if you can find someone who's mapped it out. Sometimes the company RMA departments will help you with that. So preventative maintenance basically just means preventing a failure by getting ahead of it. And we're gonna replace the pads on some of these, paste for sure, and get the dust out of here, and then do before and after testing. The other one is an avenue where the cooler can get replaced for acoustic reasons. So as far as permeation goes, the first issue, this can also speed up if running suboptimally due to air bubbles accumulating in the pump or otherwise impeding water flow. And as for the acoustic issues, most of our commenters who've complained of pump whine or that water feature trickling noise have found that flipping the cooler the right way around resolves many of those issues. People who don't do this may end up prematurely replacing the part when it'd be fine if mounted more appropriately. Permeation rate increases with longer tubes, higher coolant temperature, and with thicker tubes, and is also highly dependent on the material used in the pump block and in the tubes. Wow, look at that. Look at that. It's like the classic OEM garbage tier chassis from the late 90s or early 2000s right here, with a giant piece of plastic strapped to it. That's about as Alienware as you could possibly get. Look, no. Why? There's so much weird stuff going on that I'm noticing. I'm trying to stay focused on like on one thing at a time. This looks very similar to the systems I built in 2004. Look at how lonely these memory modules are. They have no friends. One of us is going to survive this. Is it just me, or do this motherboard be looking a little sus? So what we've learned so far is that Dell has actually gotten worse with time. That's impressive. G55,000, one of the bigger complaints we had with this and with the Alienware system that was $1,800 was that both used basically the same cooler, which is a garbage, not even Intel stock cooler, an aluminum chunk with a hockey puck protruding out the bottom of it to contact AMD CPUs, Intel CPUs, you name it, they can make it fit. Doesn't mean it's good, but it's cheap and it'll fit. I want to see if that's in here. That's what I'm curious, because it looks like it should be from in here. In fact, that cooler looks like it should be from in a computer from the 1990s, if not sooner. Leave it on there. I'd rather not distribute it into the atmosphere. All right, there we go. So the first thing I noticed is that I can't tell the difference between, if this computer were put in front of me like this without any markings, with no one prompting me as to what it is, I would actually not be sure if this is a brand new out-of-box Dell or HP system, because they both have timeless designs. As we said with the HP review, that component set could be from any decade, except for this one, and this is when we bought it. I wouldn't be able to tell you when this comes from. What I can tell you is that the motherboard is a standard form factor that looks like micro ATX. All right, so let's try and get something to take away here. CPU core I'm interested in. Now that we know that it's not load bearing, we know that the case is somewhat standardized. Look at that. Okay, cool. This is actually not, you know, Dell, man, I'm so disappointed. Not because this one's, I'm disappointed because of the severe regression there. Q6600, that's a good CPU. That's a quad-core Q6600. I had that in one of my personal builds. It actually was a really good CPU for its time.